All right, can everyone see my screen? Yes, out there in virtual land, can everyone see the screen? Thumbs up.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Sweet.
can. Yep.
So thank you for coming to our session today. My name is Kenton Hankins. I'm from Impactful Workshops. And with me, I have,
Nathan Williams. Good to be with everyone.
and the goal of today's session is to teach you 3 tips, techniques, how you can be more productive. And these are neuroscience techniques that we use during workshops to get people extremely productive. We've done a lot of workshops. I'm into the triple digits when it comes to workshops. Last time I counted, I was like 115. So we've done a lot of these. We've screwed up some, right? And we've learned from it. So you're going to take the advantage of our learnings we're going to try to give to you today in just an hour session. So what we're going to talk about today, we got a couple things. If my mouse will cooperate. No. So we're talking about a little bit of who are we. The 3 things we're going to talk about, the main ones are going to be the curse of knowledge, because unfortunately we're all cursed. We're going to talk about that, what that is, and there's a cure, right? The Moses illusion, loss aversion, we're going to wrap it up. And a little bit about us really quick. Like I said, we've done a lot of workshopping. I actually started an innovation group at Pega, got burnout, where I did a ton of workshopping, and all I want to do now is workshopping. So our goal is try to run the best workshops in the world, and somehow I convinced that man to do the same thing. Still not sure how, but Nathan has a background as a CTO, and he's helped scale up a company. So we have a pretty interesting approach where we can talk about how to do all this ideas from a scientific, neuroscience, experience-based background with someone who's actually built things for real. So when we go to workshopping, we do try to keep it very applicable. And using this,
I'll jump in there. I'll say one of my favorite things coming from inside and running meetings and having an opinion and agenda and trying to pull team members along to workshopping is I really enjoy the independent aspect of it. And there's a lot of value in getting a third party point of view, perspective, voice, ears in the room with you occasionally. So somebody to keep things on schedule, all that kind of basic stuff, but also somebody to mediate and drive and ask questions that other people are kind of afraid to ask or speak up. Adds a lot of value to some of those meetings where you've got big problems to solve and you need creative ways to do it.
so just a little bit more credence, workshopping does work. We have identified $1 billion plus in financial impact. This stuff works, and we're going to give you some of the secrets around how, why it works, how we structure things a certain way today. Right? And we really believe these approaches can be your secret sauce to success. You know, we've done a couple workshops with people in here, Dave and Raphael, and some of the folks actually joined us during those workshops. Ramin was kind enough to sit in on some. But I can tell you with a certainty, using some of these methods we're going to give you today, you're going to be able to compress months of meetings into days, if not hours, right? And we really believe this is the secret sauce for a lot of organizations moving forward. It's about getting aligned, creating environments where you can co-create together. When we do things like that, it drives change management. I mean, how many of us have been in a room and we've had an argument, not just with our significant other, right? It happens all the time. It's going to continue to happen, right? And one of the ways we can get around that is through some of the techniques we're going to talk about today. And when we talk about workshopping and some of the techniques, I do want to touch on this pretty quickly, because if you're on the internet, you're going to hear about some of this stuff, right? When we talk about workshopping and these techniques, first you have to look at the fact that hybrid is not going away. In fact, it's accelerating. So what I mean by that, we have a session today with people in Mexico, Brazil. I think we have a person from Europe, maybe I'll have to double check. We're not all going to get in the same room anymore, as much as we would like to. So we need to embrace being hybrid. And in Impactful Workshops, we have some pretty special techniques in how we do that. So not only do we use tools like Miro and Miro that you're going to see today, but we mimic everything virtually and in real life. So if you look behind you, some of the exercises we're going to do today, we have almost identical setup to a Miro board that our virtual participants are going to use. And something else that we do, when one of us is not presenting, because we generally always have two people, the other one's updating the board, so it feels like you're there in person. And we also have some timer cues that we'll use to ask the people that are remote. So anytime you do hybrid sort of approaches, this doesn't have to just be for workshopping. But we always think about that in mind. This is not going anywhere through these hybrid approaches. Next, we hear a lot of people are too busy to workshop, but they need to collaborate and work faster. To me, that's a giant oxymoron. And you'll see when we talk about techniques like time boxing and why it works, and some of the neuroscience behind it, that's the way to get faster and less busy. Right? Because there are some things we're going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you this right now, and I'd like you to write it down if you're super interested. You're only going to get 3 hours of good work per day. 3 hours. And there's some science that says all 3 should be right in a row. I'm not a firm believer in that, but I am a believer in you only get 3 hours a day. So you think about all the emails we do, right? Generally a waste of time. The meetings we go to, not always very productive. But you'll generally find there's some point in your day where you are productive and you only have about 3 hours. Use it really wisely. Right? Something else that we see, people workshop with partial groups. So techniques we're going to give you here today, we want you to use with as many people as you need to. So if you're looking at your end users, especially if you're looking to sell to someone or create a new product for someone, like say a startup would, right? When you workshop with them, it can't just be about you as the owner of the startup or the product owner or the manager. You need to get the end users involved. So when people say workshops don't work for them, usually they don't have the right people involved. It's a very easy thing to fix. Next, workshops are the answer. Now, what was the question? Right. Again, these are things you'll see on the internet right now. Workshopping is great and workshopping is absolutely horrible. Right. As someone who runs a workshop company and we do it together, Nathan and I will be the first person to tell you, you shouldn't run a workshop in this scenario. A great example, we're working with a system integrator or someone that builds other systems, and they were looking at improving a center of excellence. And we're like, that's not a workshop thing. Right? It doesn't always have to be in workshops. Next, has anyone ever heard of design sprints? Yes, no, maybe. There's a book by, yeah, you've heard a lot about it. There's a book by Jake Knapp, John Zerkowski, and I forget the third guy. I feel bad for him because he's always forgotten. But it's huge. It's everywhere. You'll see it. It's the 5-day workshop. Everyone's rebranding that. So anytime you see a workshop that's 5 days, just go to Google Ventures and you can read exactly what they're doing. Some of them will modify it a little bit, but we see tons of that. It's a cool thing, but it's not always things. But just kind of be aware that's huge. It's out there right now. And the last one that arguably we think is the most important is the rise of a partial facilitator. So all these tools we're giving you are essentially from the rise of this partial facilitator or people like us that will come in, because chances are, if you are trying to run a workshop as an owner of a company to get other people aligned, believe it or not, you may not be neutral in your opinions. I know it's shocking. I know, right? And I don't just know this from a little bit of experience. Nathan actually was that person trying to do it. And he ran workshops and tried to be the facilitator and someone who owned the product. And didn't work out very well.
No, the loudest voice in the room, the quiet, there's too many agendas and opinions and maneuvering and politics involved when you're a manager in a group and there's a hierarchy in that group. People are throwing out ideas and having conversations. It puts a lot of weight behind what some people say and none behind what other people say. So having that facilitator, kind of anonymizing some of those ideas like we do in workshopping, opens up the door for a collective group decision.
So that's a little bit about workshopping. Some of the stuff we do, if you guys want to talk to us later, These are kind of a catalog of some of the workshops we do. I'm not going to get into it too much because we want to get to the techniques. But we will do those design sprint-like things that we talked about to help you reimagine our current process, improve a product. We can help you with strategy. We've done messaging workshop here and a strategic roadmap workshop with folks here in the connector. So this is something that we do. We love talking about this stuff. So if you have any questions, just let us know. And we do have a celebrity in the room here who's been through our workshop and tell you how awesome this stuff is. I'm not going to read his direct quote as much as I would like to for time, but I think it's pretty cool. So thank you, Dave. Thank you. So the first activity we're going to do is called Is It Cake? So in a minute, but not yet, you are going to use your snack pack here of workshoppy goodness. And for those of you online, Nathan is going to send a link to a Miro board. And I'm going to explain to you how you use that Miro board here in 1 minute. So for those of us in person, in your snack pack of design thinking goodness, you'll have some Post-it notes. Not going to use those quite yet. You can get it out, it's okay.
We're allowed now.
Yeah, you're allowed now. Thank you for asking. I love this guy. You have a pen that should work, but no guarantees. And then you will have 5 blue sticky dot quotes. These are little stickers, you can just peel them off. Right? So we're going to use each of these parts and we're going to use these stickers first. So you can set those stickers aside because you're going to use it for this activity. So for those of you that are remote, in the chat, Nathan has sent the Miro board link. So Miro is essentially like PowerPoint on steroids, right? Except you have a giant singular PowerPoint slide, right? And it's going to mimic what's in the room. So I'm going to switch from the eventually PowerPoint to Miro. So when you log into Miro, you're going to see something like this. Right? It's going to have a board. I see some folks in there, which is awesome. So you can pinch to zoom. You can move your mouse left and right, up and down to navigate the board. On the far left is actual helpful little hints that we give you, and they're animated GIFs. So if you just go and scroll over it and see, you'll see some of the ways you can move stuff. And then the first exercise we're going to do for those of you remote is going to involve just moving one of those dots. So you have blue dots, just like those folks in person. Although I have to admit the hue and the color is a little bit off on our blue. Nathan will fix it.
Drive me nuts.
It'll drive him nuts. Oh, look, people are already moving it. All right, Marco, look at that. We've got some overachievers. So here's what we're going to do.
Sorry.
That's okay, Marco. I know how it is. Folks in the room, you'll actually see we have on one screen the Miro board. So you can feel like you're also in that virtual room. On the right, we'll have our PowerPoint. So what we're going to do, we are going to ask you to grab your blue dots. And on the wall behind us, you'll see 3 things that say picture 1, 2, and 3. And if you're from Europe, 1, 2, and 3. So like that. And I'm going to show you a picture. And I just want you to try to figure out, is it cake? Or it's not cake, it's fake. Very, very simple. Try to figure out if the picture I'm showing you is cake. If you think it's cake, take your blue dot, put it where it says cake. So not yet. Virtual folks, you are going to drag your dot on that first picture to the column that says cake or the column that says fake. Get some people already doing it. So we're going to put 1 minute on the clock. So folks, let's get up, put your dots for picture 1. Is it cake or not? We have 1 minute.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they do pictures.
You're getting pictures so some people see. It's like an onion.
I don't remember the answers to these.
It's kind of, well, some people do. We'll see if who remembers the answer. They never workshop before.
I'm sure I'm gonna get this on.
All right, 10 seconds. Sweet, look, everyone's. All right, so let's sit back down. So we have, wow, it's leaning towards the fake in the room. 7-4. And if you look virtually, we have 2 outliers that think it's cake. Everyone else thinks it's fake. So I've got some sad news for you. This is cake.
Yeah.
You got it? Did you get it?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if you're good. All right, picture number 2. All right, picture number 2. 1 minute. Get up, cake or fake. Virtual people do the same thing. Drag it up there. Starting now. Hey, Dave, I think this is a new one.
Yeah, that's top one. The other one's not. On it. But this bit is something. I believe it's real, right? I believe there's a lot of great cake.
I believe.
You watch the picture. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is it called? Yeah.
The cake.
Is it called like that?
Okay.
Oh, really?
All right.
64.
So in person, we have 6-4. Most people think that is not cake. We go online. Oh, thanks, Nathan. So for folks online, you'll see Nathan is actually updating the board so they can see this too. This is part of our hybrid approach where we try to keep it near in sync. We're about a minute off, so you can blame me. Fake is also leading virtual. Drum roll, please. Oh, no drum roll. Wow. We have to hear. I'm sorry. It is cake. So we're gonna do one more, right? Because everyone loves groups of 3. So last one. Is this cake or is it real? Now I've got you all good and confused. I like seeing people's faces online because they're like, you can see they're really deeply thinking about. I, in 5 minutes, we've warped your reality.
None of the art of fake cake.
Yes. All right.
It's too real.
It looks too real now. So most people said it's fake. Both in person and virtually. This actually is just corn. Congratulations. How many people were nervous they were going to get that wrong? So this is a fun little exercise, but this actually shows us the reality about something called the curse of knowledge. See, I knew there's some amazing bakers out there that can do stuff like we just saw, but you didn't, right? So I unknowingly assumed you knew the same information I did. And this is called the curse of knowledge. This happens all the time, right? And this especially happens with people that are product owners that did something 3 or 4 years ago that think they know exactly what's happening today. So this curse of knowledge is very, very dangerous, especially when we look to build products, right? Because we're unknowingly assuming all this information. And there's an easy way to overcome this curse. So when you're building products and services, you need to focus on what people need. Right? This is also why during workshops, we focus on the end in mind. That's the very first thing we do, is we define what are your goals. Right? And there's a reason for that. Another easy way to get around this is show the big picture. Right? You understand, what is this really trying to do? You know, there's a famous Steve Jobs ism or quote, I don't know if you want to call it, when they were first building the Mac Mail. He got everyone involved in the room because the Mac Mail was doing awful. And he just asked them, what is this supposed to do? People were silent in the room. And eventually someone said, well, it's supposed to help you with mail. And he said, well, why doesn't it do that? So we're going to focus on the big picture first. Next, what we want to have is examples. And when I mean examples, concrete examples, or tell me a story. So next time someone says, hey, this sucks, this stinks, don't say, oh yeah, it's bad. Instead say, can you tell me a story? Show me one. When you start doing that, you're going to get over that curse of knowledge. And you're going to get valuable insights just by reframing how you ask questions and how you approach things. And switch into the story mode and show me mode. Don't let someone get away with some abstract, oh, it's bad. Tell me and show me. So for the next mind melting activity, I'm going to turn it over to Nathan.
All right, thanks, Ken. So we started off with one kind of set of quizzes. We're going to do another quiz this time around. We'll reveal that section of the Miro board for everyone who's remote here shortly. Ken's going to help me with that. But instead of voting dots this time, we're going to use our sticky notes. We're going to ask 5 questions. We're going to have 1 minute to answer all 5 of the questions. And we're going to put them back up on our 1 minute quiz answer zone back there. So answer them all as quickly as possible. It's kind of a move quick, and then we'll regroup. Kent, you've got the.
I've got lock it.
Oh, all right.
You can keep introducing. I need to be quick.
Oh, so for everyone remote, the post-it note should be an option on the left menu bar, probably the third from the top, fourth from the top. Looks like a post-it note. Grab that on there. Everyone will be able to place it. Again, just type all 5 of your answers in the same post-it note, whether you're online or here. All right. So the 1 minute quiz.
Where should I put them when we're done?
Oh, the 1 minute quiz answer zone. Yep. To repeat. So here are questions. How many animals of each kind did Moses take on the ark? Kind of tree did Lincoln chop down? What did Goldilocks eat at the 3 Little Pigs' house? And what phrase follows to be or not to be in Macbeth's famous soliloquy? And last, by having an apple fall on his head, what did Galileo discover? Yeah, you got the timer? All right. As soon as you're done in the room, go ahead and hop on up, put those on the back. We'll see how everyone did. Got about 30 seconds left. Maybe a little bit less. Prizes for whoever goes first. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. But kudos. All right, we're right at a minute. So whatever you have, even if you didn't get all 5, let's go ahead and put them up on the answer zone. You can see some answers. You've got all 5 of those on one. That's if you did use multiple Post-its, yeah, you can just kind of cluster them together.
Got some Miro experts here.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
around fast.
They are snappy. That's good. All right, Ken, can you help me out? You'll report from the back.
Yeah, I'll report from the back. We have some people still picking them. You can just put them in. That's small, right? Yeah.
So I guess Ken, if you want to read out any consensus, or we can kind of just open it up to the room and to those that are remote.
I'll just grab a couple here.
All right, go ahead.
So, one was Moses, one was Washington, one was Three Little Bears. Oh, yeah. Someone wrote one. That is a good question. And by having an apple fall in the tree, Galileo discovered the solar system. Someone for the last question, but Apple. Sure, why?
Well, he didn't know Apple before.
Right?
That's going up.
And someone for the last one wrote gravity.
Gravity. All right. So wide variety of answers. We got Miro board over here. We got two, a large one, porridge. That is the question. Seems like he didn't get to 5. Over here we've got 11 post-it notes up with some of the answers, it seems like. So somebody maybe realized with the tricks going on in the first session, they were in the right mindset to say, hey, maybe this isn't quite right. But the point of this exercise is to show that our brains tricked us in this instance. We time boxed it, we put 1 minute on the clock, we ran through 5 questions pretty quick. And there were some small discrepancies with those questions that your brain maybe picked up on, maybe didn't. So most people know that Noah was the one who built the ark, not Moses. So our brain is trying to leap to the answer as quick as possible and skips over that detail. The fact that Noah, not Moses, was the one that took animals on the ark. Hence the 0 being a good answer for whoever did the pink and purple over here. So for all of those, we can go through them, right? Which we'll actually get to. So this is called the Moses illusion. People pretty consistently use heuristics or mental shortcuts to try to get to those answers whenever, again, when we time box in a hurry to solve problems. This is a mechanism at work, underlying tendency to jump to a solution, right? I could open up in this question, is it a bug or a feature, right? And depending on the day or the situation, maybe a bug, maybe a feature, but the most important thing is to be aware of it and use it. So in reviewing our answers, we see that it was Noah, not Moses, Washington, not Lincoln, who chopped down the tree, the 3 bears, not the little pigs, Hamlet, not Macbeth. That's an impressive one, right? Shakespeare is, I don't know, on the decline, I expect, but still out there, right? And then it was Newton, not Galileo, who discovered gravity with the apple falling on his head. So what's the science behind this, right? So a touch of brain theory here is that our brain kind of relies on system 1 and system 2 thinking, right? So system 1 is using pattern matching to try to work quickly. It's the type of thinking we do when we're in conversation, right? We don't have time to hear what somebody said and then sit there and think about it for a little bit and then respond back, right? Your brain's working faster. So fast, effortless, parallel, it just is. It's second nature. So that's where that pattern matching comes in, and frequency gambling. So I'll acknowledge this as a stolen one, but Kent likes to say system 1 thinking is the only type of thinking that politicians know how to do, right? They're just on their feet, moving as fast as possible, trying to get from point to point. System 2 is a different type of thinking, where there's conscious processing, right? So it takes way more effort. You're tired after being in system 2 thinking than you are as opposed to when you're in system 1 thinking. It's selective, it's resource limited, It's slow and laborious, and it's analytical in nature, right? So system one versus system two, they both have their place, right? It's not that one or the other is right. But system two has some benefits when you're trying to creatively solve big problems or come up with big ideas. So how do you get to system two thinking? And how do we use it in workshopping, right? We write things down on paper to get into system two thinking. We've been doing that in the room, and we've been mimicking that virtually on the Miro board. Take a walk with a little bit faster pace than normal. This isn't just some type of goofy idea and a waste of 5 or 10 minutes in your precious day where every minute counts. This type of exercise brought into a workshop can produce results, right? You'll think better. A lot of people recognize it a little bit. Take walks at lunch, take walks in the morning or as part of their commute, and they see value. They feel energized. They think better during the walk and then kind of right afterwards as well. Eat healthy. We kind of joked at the beginning of the session today that right after lunch is a tricky time, depending on whether we had burgers and pizza or salads and nuts and juices and things like that. But that can help you stimulate that system two thinking. Time box. We've talked a little bit about how there's only 3 hours a day where you can really do that most productive work and thinking. So if you time box yourself, you can jumpstart that system two thinking. I hear that and I think, oh, all that time where I was procrastinating, it was because I'm not in system one. I didn't give myself deadlines. I waited until there was a real deadline, and then creatively juices kind of go, right? So there's some science behind why people tend to do that. Not that it's right or wrong. It's probably better to pull those deadlines for yourself, put them together in a room. But the deadline is what really helps drive some creative thinking. Limit yourself to 3 hours a day, as we discussed, and identify your best time, right? There's also a lot of science behind morning people and night people. It's not a matter of laziness and procrastination there. Biologically, certain people work better in the morning, work better in the evening, work better right after lunch, wherever it is. Find the time where you work the best and use it. A little bit tricky when you're consolidating a big group. You've got to try to pick a time that works for everyone, especially when you're across time zones across the globe. But picking a time, limiting a time, using some of these are really going to boost the system two thinking. Anything to add? Good. All right, we're going to move on to session 3.
All right, so this next session, or the next little hack we're going to talk about is about not missing out on things. Some of you may have heard this before. Oh, Nathan, I need to get my charger. Got a little battery.
All right.
It's over there. Something called FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. And there's multiple biases that we have around loss aversion is actually what it's called. But we're going to do a little exercise here that's pretty fun. So let's say for me, I gave you $1,000. I'm not giving you $1,000. I'll take $1,000. So you have two options with that 1,000.
Think of it as your $1,000 is what I would do, right?
Yeah, it's your 1,000. It's your 1,000 Monopoly. You can keep it, or you have the potential of doubling it 60%, or 40% of the time you're getting absolutely nothing.
Okay.
You know what you would do? Don't tell me. So what we're going to do is we are going to use those dots again. And in the back corner, I'm going to ask you to vote for which one you would do. Would you keep that $1,000, or would you risk losing it? So in a minute, but not yet. I'm going to move the for our virtual folks. And virtual board are going to move to the right a little bit, but all of you are Miro masters from what we've seen. All right, it's there. And you're going to drag your dot on the column. So would you keep it, or would you risk losing it?
One-time game.
One-time game, the one and only game. So I don't think we need a minute for this, but Wow, look at, they're all the opposite.
And the answer is different.
What?
$1 million and the answer is different. Yeah, I will give you a different. $1,000.
Yeah, well, so it keeps going up and up.
Yeah, the higher you go, then, yeah, of course, you wanna give it.
Yeah, this is interesting. Different groups give us different answers.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a different answer.
Yeah. Kind of fun to see. Oh, can you move yours over? This is actually interesting.
Yeah.
Virtual folks are showing some different stuff. All right. So when we look over here, we figured out this room was filled with gamblers who don't mind losing money. Right? And it's kind of interesting because I think most of the people in here are entrepreneurs, which you're inclined to lose, right? Not to put 2 R's per point on it. And then
And
virtual,
because of exchange rate, it's worth more for us. So we have more at stake here. It's not just $1,000 for us. It's 6,000 reais.
Nice, Marco. What's interesting, oh, if you can move back up, Nathan.
Sorry.
Right. Folks virtually actually would keep the 1,000. More likely. So this is real. This exercise shows us loss aversion. Generally, most people, except for apparently you gamblers here, you should be excited because you're getting that new boat in Chicago to gamble money. Most people are afraid of losing money. They value that loss more than the gain, right? It's called loss aversion. There's a couple other biases too. We talk about loss aversion. So there's another one where people will over-index on the differences of something and under-index on the similarities, which is often why when you are marketing your products, you should be marketing towards the differentiators, because people are going to really over-index and value that much, much more. And they also will place more value on what they perceive as a sure thing. Right? This is why bookies make so much money in sports betting. A sure thing. Aaron Rodgers last night is a great example, right? Sure thing. But they still, yes, they did still win. But we can use FOMO and this feeling stronger to avoid losses to our advantage. So a minute ago, Nathan talked about time box, right? You can combine that with framing your goals in a way that you frame it. So you put the emphasis on what you could potentially lose. And just doing this little thing will motivate you more because at your core, your biologically predisposition to want to hoard things and to not want to lose things, especially when it comes to money. So you can also use this to set deadlines for tasks and goals to create a sense of urgency. This may sound simple, but I can tell you, having worked with a ton of companies in corporate America, they do not set deadlines. They do not place emphasis on what is being lost, right? And you're laughing because you probably see it every day. In certain industries, maybe not one that starts with a B. Right? And when you are marketing things on your website, a lot of people are starting to discover if you highlight what the other party might lose by not agreeing, they're going to have more success. So sometimes in workshops, what we will do is we will flip things. Say, all right, what could you lose if you don't do this? Right? To get them start thinking a little bit differently. So use FOMO to your advantage. Fear of missing out is real. It's called loss aversion. Right? So these are some easy steps you can use. And we wouldn't just want to do 3. We actually have a bonus for you. One that you're actually going to use hopefully today. So Nathan.
All right, so for our last hack, we're gonna talk about setting some goals. These are just for you, right? So there's no place on the board, both in the room or in Miro, right? So we're gonna have everyone write down on a post-it note, again, not shared, 2 goals for you professionally or for your business. And pro tip, goals should be measurable usually.
You can also think about what you would lose.
All right, we're going to keep working on it if you'd like, but we're gonna move on to the next slide. Put that one maybe on one side of you. We're gonna on another a post-it note. We're gonna make those goals 10 times bigger. So really swing for the fences. Doesn't need to be fantasy, but we want to remove the fear of not meeting them and just go big. Going 10 times as big, take all the creative assumptions you need to. Really, what would those goals look like if you had them 10 times bigger? And we're going to see what kind of context that gives you for the original goal. All right. So we've got our goals, we've got our original goals, we've got our 10x goals. And the idea here is really just to push yourself, push out of your comfort zone. Quick tool to think bigger and bolder, right? Give yourself permission to set goals that you might not achieve, right? That's your 10x goal, that's your crazy goal, that's okay. Find a group of people. It's hard to talk about goals or set goals in certain settings or with certain people and not meet them. But you've got to have a group, you've got to have a space, you've got to have maybe a session where you do that. It's going to help you aim higher, and it's going to give you context for your original goal that you might not have had if you're just so focused on that, right? So if you're thinking about implementing your product in 10 times as many buildings at 10 times as fast as you were originally, all of a sudden you've got 10 teams doing things that you had one team doing the first time. And you've got to think, well, maybe documenting that process, even though I don't really need it to meet my one times goal, maybe that's a little bit more valuable, right? Maybe that's going to speed up my transition to my 10x goal. So it's good context to have when you're swinging for it or when you're setting goals, to set some really big, ambitious goals. Don't miss out on your next goals.
We really don't want you to, which hopefully you'll be able to use these techniques that we've introduced to you today. So things like the curse of knowledge. So slowing down, go to where the work is being done. Ask someone to tell you stories, right? Just something as simple as that's going to help give you a greater understanding. Getting yourself into system 2 thinking. So using a pen and paper, right? That's going to get you into system 2 thinking. And find your time of the day that works best for you and time box it, right? Even if it's just an hour, you'll be a lot more productive in that 1 hour than you've ever been in before, as long as you use pen and paper, write stuff down. Also, I always recommend doing a little bit of walking before and having some healthy glucose, right? You don't need to sugar up, go get a Dunkin' Donuts, even though I may have done that this morning, right?
Hours ago.
That wasn't your 3 hours.
No, it wasn't my 3 hours, right? And it's okay to not be productive, right? Because you really only have 3 hours to be productive, right? Which is I always find kind of humorous when you see people say, I was so productive for the last 12 hours. No, you weren't. Right? We know it's like last, well, I shouldn't say last, but close to last, fear of missing out, right? Just reframing a little around what you could lose, what your potential customers could lose, especially if they don't act. Right? That's going to drive behavioral change. Finally, using 10x and that 10x mindset. Right? Nathan walked us through it, and I always like to tell people, you know, people generally don't get promoted for incremental improvement. They don't make changes off incremental improvement. When you aim for 10x, it will cause you to think differently. You know, for us, we talk about 10x, it's running 100 workshops. There's a different mindset we have to enable that capability to run 100 workshops than just say 10. It doesn't always have to be like 10x, it could be 5x. Right? But it still pushes you to think bigger and bolder. And it's okay, like Nathan was telling us, to not hit them. Because if you hit 4x and you're aiming for 10, I don't think anyone's going to be that upset. That's what we see. So I do on next slide, please.
We're gonna,
So we do have one more thing we want to touch on really quickly, and that's just about workshopping and AI.
well, yeah, it's just closing it out. How do we lead these and how do you use this? We've talked about that a little bit throughout, but you know, how does workshopping, what good are these, some of these hacks we talked about, getting together in a room, right? How does it hold up in the world of today, right? So does workshopping hold up in the age of AI? I think about AI as a, and a lot of times when we're talking about AI, especially right now, where it's really buzzy, we're talking about AI products, right? So really smart Clippy, I feel like, or something that Microsoft's going to sneak in everyone's license and sell us for, you know, $20 a month or whatever. But it's all about creativity versus efficiency. And this is a give and take that we're facing in work and business and life all the time, right? So how can we be creative? How can we be efficient, right? And a lot of the AI products are talking about efficiency, right? How can we automate things? How can we do things faster? It's an impressive technological advancement, but it's trying to just make everyone more efficient. So it's really popular right now to talk about the efficiency that comes along with it, and how quick it is and how easy it is and how you're going to churn out all this great marketing content or whatever you're going to do really fast with AI. And what I think about when I hear that is it's leaving really creativity behind in a lot of ways, because this is a tool that's widely available and everyone's going to be throwing not the exact same, but really similar prompts at it and getting really similar responses back and output back. So the creativity is a little more time consuming, right? You've got to slow down. You've got to get people in a room. You've got to do some sessions that seem a little goofy to get the output that creates what we'll talk about here is what's kind of left out of the conversation a lot, to really differentiate yourself and really to create alignment amongst people that have all these kind of different perspectives, right? So this isn't a workshopping is better than AI, that you don't need AI anywhere, but it definitely is. AI cannot replace what we've done in this room together, what you do when you get people together and work through ideas. So keep that creativity in mind. Realize that creativity is trying and failing, and then figuring out something really unique. That's what workshopping can help you do. So want to close this out?
That's excellent. So with your goals, this is going to be the part where I insert a shameless plug. Right, let's just follow what it is. You have those goals written down on your sheet. We can help you hit your 10x goals. That's it. Right, we're going to do it with workshopping. So if you want to learn more how we can do that, you can hit up this link, book a meeting with myself or Nathan. We'll talk about your goals. We'll say, this is how we can help you. Or we'll say, hey, maybe you should talk to this person. This workshopping is not the answer, but we do want to hear about your problems. We want to hear about your goals, because we're pretty damn certain we can help you. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed today's session. You'll never look at cake the same. But if you want to learn more about some of the stuff we do, just follow us at Impactful Workshops. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone online.
Thank you very much. Oh, questions? Thank you, Raphael. Do you have a question, Raphael?
Sorry, I missed the beginning. So are you advocating for workshops in person as opposed to virtual?
We actually do virtual, in-person, and hybrid.
Are one more effective than others, in your experience?
In our experience, in-person is the best for a variety of reasons. However, we think hybrid workshops are going to be the majority of what is run now and in the future. So you're going to have people both remote, both in person, just like what you saw today. And we have techniques that we use, sort of like what you saw today, to try to keep it as in sync and try to provide as best experience as we can for both people virtual and in person.
It just doubles your effort a little bit too, right? If we're at home, if we're running a completely virtual workshop, I'm doing it from home, everyone's at home, everyone's separate, just the Miro board. If we're doing it in person, it's just post-it notes, just voting dots, just pens, just white paper on the wall. We gotta do both, we gotta juggle a little bit and we do hybrid, but it's reality, like I said. That's what it'll be for a while. Great question.
You guys do workshops for like non-profit organizations as well,
Yeah, we will do workshops for non-for-profit.
like a strategy, there's a reorg strategy.
Yep, just about anything will workshop when it comes to around creating alignment. If you're looking for something that's super technical, you know, like, how do you run the best, center of excellence for a particular product like SAP or SAP Salesforce, we're not the people to help you with that. But strategy, absolutely. They actually did a pseudo strategy workshop with Raphael and Falco Systems. And we do have one that we built based off a book called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy.
Yeah.
By Richard Rumel, great book, very funny guy too, so I highly recommend reading it. Any other questions?
All right, thanks again, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Guys, that's, the comments on the bottom. Cause, yeah. I think they have a-